all that could wait. Agatha Raisin, detective, was going to solve the great quiche mystery all by herself.
This is I Don't Even Own a Television, The Quiche of Death, the first Agatha Raisin mystery.
1, 2, 3. There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all, 'cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
All right, welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television, the podcast about bad books that always bakes its own entries to the village competition. I am JW, the grapes were used for wine instead, Friedman.
And I'm Chris, Nature's Candy Collision.
Ooh, good one. Woo! And we're talking about The Quiche of Death, the first Agatha Christie... Sorry, I've already done it.
Wow,
this will happen many times.
20 seconds in and the mask has already started to slip.
We're talking about The Quiche of Death, the first Agatha Raisin mystery by M.C. Beaton, not a rapper. M.C. Beaton, it should be noted, before we go too far, is Marion Chesney. It's a pen name. She had 5 other pen names and also wrote under her real name. She's published something like 100 novels, and she recently passed away. But don't worry, we're not here to make fun of her in any way. I think we're going to point out some of the delightful foibles of this book. But I would say that both of us enjoyed it to a degree. So you don't have to worry about us being mean to someone who recently died.
Right. Pour one out for MC Beaton. Probably a 40 of tea.
Yeah.
Just to make sure everything is properly, culturally mixed and appropriated.
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to get that out of the way, like, right up front, just so that people don't think we're piling on a dead woman, which would be really not fair or cool.
Yeah, no, we just wanted to pick something that we thought we would probably enjoy and that might be a little lighter lift than normal.
Yeah, and, most of you know about me and cozy mysteries, and I gotta say, a book called The Quiche of Death, It doesn't get more cozy mystery than that.
I've walked by this thing at the library probably a half dozen times, and that title just leaps off the shelf at you.
It does. Real men don't eat them, as we learned many episodes ago, so...
I'm actually very excited about this because this finally allows me to get in on that hot quiche-based material.
Oh, that's
because
true.
that was long pre-me.
That's true. Yeah, that was before you joined the show. Was the last time we had a long discussion about a book that revolves around quiche.
Yeah, and that's a sub-thread that I think deserves more attention. That's right. I'm calling for the show to quiche on, quiching on.
Dear Lord.
This will be the last episode.
Sorry. Mouthful of beer at the wrong time.
Sorry. Anyway, look, I think everybody knows what we're in for here.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know if they know, perhaps, that Agatha Raisin is a character that appeared in a bunch of novels following this. And she moves to a quaint from London, where she has a job as a high-powered PR woman.
Whoa, literally the first line of Plot in 60.
Oops,
high-powered public relations executive, London. Wow.
My point is that she moves to an idyllic country village.
And then what happens? In
the English countryside. Then what happens we'll talk about later, but I want to chat for a little bit here about English villages and how they're portrayed on TV.
Right.
Admittedly, we're dumb Americans. I don't know how much of this is accurate or not. I love things that take place in quaint villages like your Father Browns and your Midsummer Murders and stuff like that. I think that's a well-known fact about me.
If it fits in a Brit box, Jay likes it.
Exactly. Or an acorn, for that matter. But I wonder if, like, our English listeners, because I know there's more than a handful of them, I wonder if they realize, like, how weird and exotic the concept of the village lifestyle is to us as Americans. Like, we have cities and we have suburbs and we have rural areas, but I'd say we're, like, sorely lacking in tiny little 3-road communities with weekly market days where everyone knows each other and things like that. And when they do exist, they're generally fronts for meth labs. And I think that's like a big appeal of this genre to a lot of Americans is this idea of this kind of idyllic community-focused living that we don't really have here.
I think that's right, but just because of the stuff that I've been watching lately, it rang a little bit differently to me. So the thing that I watched right before I read this was The Wicker Man, the original, the 70s version, which is about...
The good one.
Which is, oh my God. I have many thoughts about both because we actually gave ourselves a little Wicker Man film festival. So we watched both of them back to back. And I will say, if you want to watch the second one, the only way to do it is immediately following the first one.
Ooh, now I need to do it.
Because there are a lot of choices. They're not good choices, but they are choices that were made in the second that only make sense as a direct response. And we can go into this off air. But anyway, Wicker Man is also about a prickly figure from the city coming to a seemingly idyllic town, and some death is happening, but it's sinister and it's creepy, and the friendly village lifestyle starts to seem really insular and frightening. Basically what I'm saying is, you like idyllic countryside tales. I am waiting for the folk horror to break out at every moment.
I'm just like, I like the idea of a place where you say hello to someone on the street and they say good morning back instead of fuck you and crossing to the other side.
Yes, but the cost of that, and I've watched several of these movies, I consider myself a bit of an expert. The cost of that is that there's an elder god who lives either under or near the village who must be regularly appeased with blood sacrifice. So, ups and downs.
Yeah, that's true. Or at the very least, there's like an alarming murder rate.
Oh my God. I mean, somebody pointed that out. My entree into, the cozy mystery genre was, I think, like most people's Murder, She Wrote. And somebody pointed out, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They are dropping like flies in that town.
These are towns with like 14 houses
Yeah.
and a murder per week.
Right.
Something weird is going on. All right. Oh, man, this is going to be a really tricky plot in 60 seconds. I'm just going to warn the audience up front. I don't know if you managed to do it or not. There's a lot of characters in this book.
None of whom I'm planning on mentioning because none of them fucking matter.
That's a good point. So here's a song.
You got 60 seconds. Scream in the shout. You got 60 seconds. Don't leave nothing out. You got 60 seconds. Just open your mouth and tell them what the goddamn book's about.
Oh, I love that new aggressive plot in 60 song.
I was going to say, this is probably going to be the most jarring downshift in months on the show from that song to straight into like the Cotswolds.
The Cotswolds, yeah, exactly. I forgot. That is the name of the group, I guess the county, the village. I don't know how this shit works. I'm American. I'm horrible. I know nothing about cultures outside my own.
I wonder if there's like a Garrison Keillor of the Cotswolds where, all of the villages are quaint.
It's a remarkable day here at Marbury upon Thames.
Mm-hmm.
Thames.
Thames.
See, I told you I'm horrible. Okay, so are you ready?
I'm ready.
Begin.
Agatha Raisin is a high-powered public relations executive of a certain age who has long dreamed of quitting her high-powered London gig and retiring to the Cotswolds. She does, but she's prickly and they're insular, and she's having trouble making friends, so she decides that winning the local quiche competition is the way to her neighbors' hearts. So she drives back to London, buys a quiche, and enters it into the competition as her own work. The judge, however, awards first prize to a poorly regarded local woman reputed to be of loose morals, then dies of eating Angela's quiche, which was poison. Agatha's quiche, not Angela's.
Lansbury.
Agatha. Uh-oh, who could have done the poison? Was it an accident? Or was it because the quiche judge was a social clamor who lived on his wife's money and couldn't keep his dick in his trousers? Will Agatha go to prison? Will she sell her cottage and go back to London because everyone's dicks? Will her former colleague Roy stop doing cartwheels outside her auction for charity? All the answers are revealed in Agatha Raisin and the Quiche of Death.
I'm going to give it to you because I interrupted you to say Angela Lansbury.
Right, and if there's one thing I should know about this book, it is that the titular heroine's name is Agatha, not Angela.
Yeah.
Mad apologies, everyone.
Sorry.
I'm dumb.
We got the author and not the character she created. Or sorry, not the actress who played the character she created.
Right.
Yeah.
Anywho, so that's kind of the setup. I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it. Yes, it was the quiche judge's wife. She made a poisoned quiche and killed her husband because he couldn't keep his dick in his pants.
He's referred to as a chronic philanderer, I believe, in one of the many wonderful turns of phrase in this book.
That would have been a very different Dr. Dre album.
The chronic philanderer.
Yeah.
Now I keep thinking about, like, California knows how to fuck the vicar's wife.
Now that is an MC Beaton album we could get behind.
Exactly. More like MC Beat, whatever.
Oh,
okay. So, I want to introduce our audience to Agatha Raisin the way that we're introduced to her in the book.
Yeah, and she's a real nice person, right? She's your Miss Marple, kind of maybe a little bit of a busybody, but certainly a kind-hearted old gal.
No. This may be one of my favorite introductions of an unlikable protagonist since Confederacy of Dunces, to be honest. It's pretty amazing. So it's 2 paragraphs. Here we go. Agatha was aged 53, with plain brown hair and a plain square face and a stocky figure. Her accent was as Mayfair as could be, except in moments of distress or excitement when the old nasal Birmingham voice of her youth crept through. It helps in public relations to have a certain amount of charm, and Agatha had none. She got results by being a sort of one-woman soft cop, hard cop combination, alternately bullying and wheedling on behalf of her clients. Journalists often gave space to her clients just to try to get rid of her. She was also an expert at emotional blackmail, and anyone unwise enough to accept a present or a free lunch from Agatha was pursued shamelessly until they paid back in kind. She was popular with her staff because they were a rather weak, frivolous lot, the kind of people who build up legends about anyone of whom they are frightened. Agatha was described as a real character, and like all real characters who speak their mind, she did not have any real friends.
Oh, wow.
Our heroine, ladies and gentlemen.
I believe the scene that almost immediately follows that is her going away party.
Yes.
At which the constant refrain going through your head if you ever watched an episode of The X-Files is from Memories of a Cigarette Smoking Man, where he says, "Life is like a box of chocolates, a cheap, perfunctory gift."
I didn't remember that line, but that's great.
Because it's a bunch of people who don't know her well, don't particularly like her, trying to give her, touching mementos on her way out the door. It's harrowing.
Yeah, she is very much defined by her job, very good at her job, but good at her job because she's very good at being unpleasant.
She's just a bully.
Yeah, she's a bully. And I think it's, I don't know, I loved those 2 paragraphs, especially the one sentence of, it helps in public relations to have a certain amount of charm, and Agatha had none.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the way that Beaton writes, and I think that really sums it up. She's really good at these, like, pithy, short little jokes, you know?
It's not a comedy, and I think the title does it a little bit of a disservice.
That's a good point.
The title makes it seem like it's going to be a send-up, or make it seem like it's going to be much more arch than it is. But really what you get is kind of a grim story, largely about a woman trying kind of later in life to try to be a better person and to try to enjoy her life more, having a lot of trouble with both of those. And there are some jokes, as you point out, and the jokes are usually pretty good. But the title will definitely make you seem like you're in for a very different experience than the one you're going to have.
I thought there was going to be a recipe at the end of this book for, a deathless quiche, but there is no recipe, which automatic downgrade when it comes to cozy mysteries for me.
But she can't fucking cook. That's a runner in it, is that she's a
true.
terrible cook.
She microwaves everything, too. I really enjoyed that. Like, she subsists on microwave curries.
Yeah.
And, she's like, I'm going to try to cook. And then when she does, she forgets, to take things out of the oven, but not in, a slapstick way. It still tasted just fine to her unsophisticated palate.
There's a big set piece that I kind of enjoyed where the cops come a-calling because she fed a man a quiche who died of poison. So, obviously a little suspicion is going to fall on her. So the kind of savvy cop Bill Wong.
Savvy cap.
I don't know what a savvy cap is. I'm obviously not wearing my savvy cap today.
I think that's what Jughead wears in Riverdale.
Oh, poor fucker. Anyway, the savvy cop, Bill Wong, sets a little trap for her and is like, oh, well, could you just show us how you made that quiche? And she pulls her quiche book off the shelf, opens it, the binding cracks because it's never been opened before. She makes a quiche, and they kind of throw the joke away in the background as she takes it out of the oven, and it's looking great, and that she's talking with the cops, and the quiche is slowly collapsing behind her.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really nicely observed moment.
And one of the cops eventually says something like, I have reason to believe, Mrs. Raisin, that you have never before baked a quiche or anything else in your life.
And, show me the Law and Order episode where somebody says that.
Yeah, exactly. I think this has a lot of the hallmarks of the cozy mystery that I love. One of my favorite things I realized when reading this, because it happens quite a few times, is when cozy mystery authors name check other cozy mystery authors.
They got to stop doing that, man.
No, I find it really adorable. It reminds me a lot of when you listen to jazz and like a saxophone player will play one of his influences, melodies in the middle of a solo or something like that. I kind of dig that, actually, because it's never like a large part of the book. It's just the main character always likes to read mysteries and will go to the bookstore and buy a mystery by another author.
But why do they only like to read mysteries in closely related genres? Like, I would have loved it if Agatha were going to the bookstore to grab a couple books to pass the time, and she's like, wow, this new James Ellroy sure is a banger. His language is a bit spicy, and I don't agree with his worldview.
It's a good point. It is a good point.
Oh, George Pelicanos.
It's always
Will your characters never stop striving?
It's always just other books about food killing people.
Exactly. Or like, what if there was a cozy mystery protagonist who was like super into splattercore horror fiction?
Yeah, or Jack Reacher.
Jack Reacher Goes to England. If it has been done, will be the next episode.
He loves trains.
And if it hasn't been done, I believe didn't Lee Child just hand off Jack Reacher to his brother?
Yes, he did.
All right.
He was like, "Okay, guy's a meme now. It's all yours."
Yeah. Lee Child's brother. Get at us. We have ideas.
Yeah, we do. We can help you get started. We'll kick the tires on that baby for you.
Exactly. We'll teach you about tradecraft even cooler than putting your jeans under the mattress.
So, what's up with Agatha Raisin's name?
I don't fucking know.
It's really stupid. I just wanted to point that out. It's my least favorite thing about this book is the name Agatha Raisin.
My least favorite thing might actually be Agatha Raisin and the Quiche of Death.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, come to think of it, I don't know.
It's actually just called The Quiche of Death, the first Agatha Raisin mystery.
Well, see, on my cover, which is I believe a first edition hardback,
they've changed
got
it
from the library.
Oh, this is going to come into play later during our game segment then.
Actually, let me check the title page, because covers can be misleading.
Don't judge a book by them.
Yeah, judge it by the title page. Wow. Agatha Raisin and the Quiche of Death.
So they did all have this Harry Potter naming convention. God damn it, that just kneecapped one of my games.
We'll say what they should have done rather than what they did do.
Okay, good. But yeah, like, is Raisin a common surname in some place we don't know? Is this supposed to be a joke about Agatha Christie that I just don't get?
Yeah, is a Christie like a cunning nickname for a currant or something? And raisins and currants are not the same thing, as has been patiently explained to me 10 dozen times. That's a good question. I mean, it's supposed to be a bit of a joke because Raisin is her married name. There's a little flashback where she had a brief relationship with, I believe, Tom Raisin.
I think it's Jonathan Raisin.
Raisin.
Which is really good.
Jonathan Raisin. That's a pretty good name. So I don't. Yeah, is it a grape pun? I have no idea what's going on here.
I just kept thinking of like a California Raisins version of Miss Marple, which is totally showing my age, but like an elderly raisin with like, bifocals, like solving grape-related crimes.
Singing Motown hits.
Yeah. But I think it is worth noting the other book series of books that MC Beaton published under this particular pen name were about a Scottish detective named Hamish Macbeth.
Yeah.
So maybe there's just some kind of inside joke about really obvious and unfunny reference-based jokes that we're not getting here.
Now, this is one time when I will say, if and only if you are a sovereign subject of the United Kingdom, if you are a resident of the British Isles, and you understand this joke, do at us, and I'll promise I'll try to remember to read it in an upcoming episode.
I even tried to do some research and figure it out, and like nothing on any piece of writing about this describes why the fuck she's named Agatha Raisin, and it is so weird. Talk about just like pulling you out of the book. People will call her by being like, Mrs. Raisin, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
every time.
It definitely is a hard ejector seat. It kind of pokes you in the eye every single time. It's a poker. Raisin? I can't see it. Check it out.
All right. Let's do some high points, low points.
High points are high, and low points are low. High points, low points, get ready to go.
All right. We're going to be raising some high points, chopping down some lows.
We're going to be irrigating some low points.
The raisin puns are coming fast and furious this time around, but that's what happens when you name your book something stupid.
Oh, that's a new wrinkle.
All right, so I guess I'll go first with the high points. Well, as usual, everyone, I love cozy mysteries. You know it. I like them because even though they deal with cold-blooded murder, they do it in a way with the lowest stakes possible. This is a book about a grumpy old man who dies while eating a poisoned quiche. Like, you still get to play the whodunit game, but there's much less on the line than, like, say, Agatha Christie or traditional detective fiction, and there's generally a lot more humor. Yeah. And this is all true here. I also love the idea of murder by quiche. Because real men don't eat it.
I don't like the idea of murder by quiche. That hits me where I live. I live in the fluffy egg district. I don't know if everybody knows that.
Please don't murder me by quiche. But it's a unique method of homicide.
Right. So my high point is actually very similar, and I would agree, and I would kind of defer to you on it. I think the plot is pretty good in this. I perhaps, it will be argued, did not do that plot justice in my plot in 60 seconds, but this is a 200-page book that I read in a sitting, which never happens.
Yeah.
I didn't even read the RoboCop ripoff we did in a sitting.
Cyberdark.
So I really actually kind of enjoyed that, but that really rockets me into my low point, which is that I thought, while the plot was good, the detection in this book was abysmal.
Agreed.
In a 200-page book, it takes Agatha like 100 pages to figure out that Mr. Cummings Brown, our quiche judge corpse,
and serial philanderer.
Yeah, it takes her 100 pages to figure out that he was having multiple affairs. And then towards the end, there's a big set piece where she goes over to confront Mr. Cummings Brown's wife, who she suspects of having poisoned Mr. Cummings Brown, and she unthinkingly sinks a cup of tea very, very fast. Well, guess what the poisoner put in the tea she just served you?
Whoa.
And it's so dumb. We've been with Agatha for 180 pages by now. We know she's stubborn. We know she's prickly. We know she's not sensitive. But she hasn't been dumb. And that scene is only there so that there can be some stakes. And it just really rings false. And I did not like it.
I agree. I agree 100%. This is detective fiction. Cozy mysteries are still detective fiction. But as far as amateur sleuths go, Agatha's really pretty slow to the solution, which is right in front of her the entire time.
And signposted well. Like, this book does play fair. It's something we talk a lot about with mysteries. This book gives you all the hints you need, I think.
Yeah.
The problem is you're consistently 15 pages ahead of your protagonist.
Yeah, which is a bit of a problem. And, I mean, admittedly, Agatha's new to the world of detecting. I haven't read more books in the series. I have watched the season of the TV show that exists. She does get better, but the TC that you mentioned is particularly egregious because even I would know not to do that. To go accuse someone of poisoning someone and then sit there and like drink a beverage in their house while we discussed why.
Yeah, a beverage that she disappeared into the other room for several minutes to prepare. Like,
I would at least do the Princess Bride swap thing.
Like, if you suspect someone of not mistakenly shooting somebody while shooting skeet, you don't confront them at the shooting range. You know,
hey, have a shotgun. Let's talk about this potential murder.
Yeah, exactly.
I won't look while you aim. Yeah, okay. So I guess my first low point is also going to be kind of structural, and man, I couldn't help the pastry puns. People are going to think we had a brain swap or something, but much like a poorly prepared souffle, this gets soft and runny in the middle.
Oh, he about to do it.
I did it to her. You could tell that Beaton went into the book with a strong idea of the crime itself, what the resolution was going to be, and the trail of clues that would lead Agatha to the culprit. But there's a giant section of red herrings and just general nothing in the middle that feels like about 120 pages of filler. Like, Agatha changes her mind about moving to the village and goes back to London, and then remembers she likes the village better, and this happens literally 4 times. Yeah, it's a little much.
There is maybe one too many house redecorating scenes for a book of some 200 pages.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, that's my second low point. How about you?
There is a character. He's a very young cop. He is Asian on one side and, good old Anglo-British on the other. And his name is Bill Wong. And his portrayal is not what you would call sensitive, and it keeps me from recommending the book in any particular way.
Yeah.
You don't get a pass, even in 1992, when I think this was written, for describing an Asian man as Buddha-like. You don't need to say his eyes disappear when he smiles. That never should have been publishable. It serves no purpose. No other character, I shouldn't have to mention, but I'm going to, is described in anything like that. Not even the literally saintly Mrs. What is her name? Bloxby? The vicar's wife, who, she's not explicitly described as walking on water. She's not explicitly described as turning water to wine, but every event she's at, the wine is definitely flowing. She's not compared explicitly to Jesus. No, it's only the Asian guy. And I do want to point out, this is not, close first person. This is not reflecting judgments that our prickly heroine is making. These are straight descriptions from the omniscient narrator.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is very much a narrator describing quote unquote facts,
right?
And not colored through the lens of any of the characters.
And he's a fairly major character, and obviously going to be Agatha Raisin's best friend in the village going forward. And
well, my second low point is kind of similar. There's a character in here called Roy. I mentioned there's a TV show based on this that I've watched. In the show, Roy is an unabashedly gay man who is, very open about being gay. He has a boyfriend in this book that is replaced with a heterosexual man that is his friend, but yet he's still described in all of these stereotypes of just the 1990s version of what an effeminate man would be like.
Oh, I thought that was explicitly somebody he was dating when they come to the village to visit.
Well, it could be. I mean, I think the possibility is there that Roy is bisexual, but it's never explicitly mentioned. So you have this character who very much feels like he's kind of put in the book to kind of make it seem more with the times, but then he's used as window dressing. You know, you never learn anything about him. You never learn his sexuality. Well, later on, he shows up with a woman that he's going to marry after, being described several times as, quote unquote, an effeminate man, as prancing, quote unquote, and a lot of other offensive things.
Yeah. I was trying to be a little charitable with him, and I think if you squint hard, you can sort of say, oh, he's just bi. And yes, it's a mistake he's making that he's going to try to get married to a woman explicitly because he thinks it's going to be good for his career, or he's been told it'll be good for his career. That's a conversation that happens on the page.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to squint. That's the whole thing.
No, you shouldn't have to squint. And I guess, it's very, very poorly handled, even if the idea is good. And I think we're both kind of not sure that the idea was good.
Yeah, I don't know that it's operating in good faith, and it made me uncomfortable.
Also, the woman he's going to marry, who is, it should be noted, the characters in the book and the narrator of the book have less than no respect for her.
Yeah. She's described as meek and mousy. She's
dumb. She's straight out of the typing pool. She herself is another collection of real negative stereotypes.
Yeah, there's a line that I really didn't like about Agatha could tell that Roy was going to marry her and become someone she wouldn't like.
Yeah.
I didn't like that side plot.
Although that line didn't bug me as much, only because it's pretty clear that Agatha herself is someone she doesn't like.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that.
And that leads me to my last high point, which is actually very closely related to your first low point, I think. This is not great literature. I am not going to ride or die for its emotional clarity or anything, but as a portrait of someone who really wants something new, but isn't really ready to be the person who can have that new thing, it's good and it's effective and it's affecting. Agatha knows she doesn't really fit in the village. She does try to run back to London, but when she goes back to London, she has a crummy time. She's changed enough that her old life isn't really in the cards anymore. And the oscillation of that and her trying to be a better person is kind of an interesting subplot in the book. So that was a high point.
I agree in general. I just wish it didn't take up so many pages.
Yeah.
But I do think that this rolls really nicely into what my last high point is, which is I think Beaton has a real gift for writing characters. And this comes through in her Hamish Macbeth books as well, because he's lazy and phlegmatic and just generally not a great person. But she has a real gift for writing characters that should be completely unlikable. Agatha is a giant asshole, but you end up rooting for them anyway, and I don't know how she does that.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that's missing, I feel like, from the TV adaptation of the book, because Agatha comes across almost instantly as a lot softer and less judgmental and is a lot easier to like, whereas this book, I mean, Agatha is like a porcupine throughout the entire thing, but somehow by the end, you really want her to be happy, and I think a lot of it is what you said, and that she's really good at kind of describing the self-loathing that comes along with being that kind of person, and you don't normally get that kind of introspection in a cozy mystery. So,
and if you do get it in any kind of mystery, it's great, a book about a detective who's going to quit drinking. I haven't read that before.
Yeah, he knew as soon as this case was over, he was going to get rid of the bottle and spend more time with his family.
Yeah. Now spend more time with Chet and Bernie, motherfucker.
Yeah, seriously. That's what we need to do.
Patience, Jay, and dear listener, we'll get there.
And on that note, we're going to take a break. Everyone go play with your dog.
and send us pictures. Well, we just took a little break, enjoyed many a magnificent quiche, and will announce the winners in a later episode. Wait, my throat.
Oh no. Someone get an ambulance quickly. He's fallen off the couch while watching a nature documentary.
Oh my God, that whole... You know what? Supplementary high point, the fact that he's an unpleasant asshole who is watching TV only to see sexy sex times and is willing to watch a nature documentary because watching animals fuck will get him through until 9 o'clock when apparently the hardcore filth comes on TV in Britain.
It should be mentioned in the television adaptation, obviously you can't see into his mind, so what they do instead is have the nature documentary that he's watching be about how lions will sleep with 3 or 4 lionesses at once.
Oh no, that's subtle.
Yeah, it's a good little tell. So we're about to do Jesus, I don't know what to call this. The cheesiest, eggiest segment in podcasting history. It's dramatic readings.
Don't egg him on, folks.
Dramatic readings. We're gonna make it sound recorded. Dramatic readings. Yeah, I got some words for you.
Not to be crusty about it.
So dramatic readings, we take parts from the book and we read them to you. And Collision, I was hoping you could start us out here with the climactic seed.
Oh, so there needs to be one bit of setup for this, which is that, remember how I kept saying that the quiche was poisoned? Well, the poison was cowbane, masquerading as spinach. Cowbane is a poisonous plant that grows in some places but not others. Okay, that's all you need to know. Agatha awoke, tired and listless, but dutifully got out her notes again and added what she had found out. Cowbane. What about the local library, she thought with a jolt. Would they know whether Vera Cummings Brown had taken out a book on poisonous plants? Would there be a record? Of course, there must be. How else could they write to people who had failed to return books? As she trudged along to the library, Agatha reflected that her standard of dressing was slipping. In London, she had used Margaret Thatcher as a role model.
Jesus Christ.
Rather than Joan Collins or any other British beauty, favoring crisp dresses and business suits. Now, her loose print dress flopped about her, and her bare feet were thrust into sandals. The library was a low stone building. A plaque above the door stated it had originally been the village workhouse. Agatha pushed open the door and went in. She recognized the lady behind the desk as being Mrs. Josephs, one of the members of the Carsley Ladies' Society. Mrs. Joseph smiled brightly. Were you looking for anything in particular, Miss Raisin? We've got the latest Dick Francis. Agatha plunged in. I was upset by Mr. Cummings Brown's death, she said. As were we all, murmured Mrs. Josephs. I'd hate a mistake like that to happen again, said Agatha. Have you a book on poisonous plants? Now let me see. Mrs. Joseph extracted a microfiche nervously from a pile and slotted it into the viewing screen. Yes, Jerome on poisonous plants of the British Isles, number K543. Over to your left by the window, Mrs. Raisin. Agatha searched the shelves until she found the book. She opened it at the front and studied the date stamped there. It had last been taken out a whole 10 days before the death. Still... Could you tell me who was the last to take this out, Mrs. Josephs? Why? The librarian looked anxious. I hope it wasn't Mrs. Boggle. She will leave the pages stuck together. With marmalade.
Thank God.
I was thinking of getting up a lecture on local poisonous plants, said Agatha, improvising. Whoever had it out before might show equal interest, said Agatha, looking at the illustrations in the book as she spoke. Oh, well, let me see. We still have the old-fashioned card system. She drew out long drawers and flicked through the listed book cards until she drew out the one on poisonous plants. This was last taken out by card holder number 27. We don't have many members. I fear this is a television village. Let me see. Number 27. Why, that's Mrs. Cummings Brown. Her mouth fell a little open and she stared through her glasses at Agatha. And at that moment, the library door opened and Mrs. Cummings Brown walked in. ...
If you want to find out what happens next,
go to your local library like I did and get yourself a copy of M.C. Beaton's Agatha Raisin and the Quiche of Death, an Agatha Raisin mystery.
and try to ignore the racist parts.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And in my copy, try to ignore the incredibly sloppy editing where every third quotation mark is inexplicably dropped and some of the character names are wrong. But whoever read this before me very carefully blue penned every single error.
Wow.
So good.
That is good. Okay.
Dramatic me, Jay.
All right, so we're going to jump back in time here to when Agatha first decides that she's going to enter the quiche-making competition because that will make her popular in the village. I don't understand this train of thought.
Cheat to win, Agatha. Cheat to win.
Yes, so she goes and buys a quiche from a store in London, then brings it back to enter as her own work, and here we go. The next day dawned blustery and cold, with wind tearing down the last of the cherry blossom from the gardens and throwing the petals like bridal showers over the villagers as they crowded into the school hall. A surprisingly good village band was playing selections from My Fair Lady, ages of the musicians ranging from 8 to 80. The air smelt sweetly from the flower arrangements and from single blooms set proudly in their thin vases. Thin vases for the flower competition. No, I don't know why I wanted to say that, but I did. Narcissi and daffodils. There was even a tea room set up in a side room with dainty sandwiches and homemade cakes. Of course, Mrs. Cartwright will win the quiche competition, said a voice near Agatha. Agatha swung round. Why do you say that? Because Mr. Cummings Brown is the judge, said the woman, and wandered off to be lost in the crowd. Lord Pendlebury, a thin, elderly gentleman who looked like an Edwardian ghost and who had estates on the hill above the village, was to announce the winner of the quiche competition, although Mr. Cummings Brown was to be the judge. Agatha's quiche had a thin slice cut out of it, as had the others. She looked at it smugly. 3 cheers for the quichery. The spinach quiche was undoubtedly the best one there. The fact that she was expected to cook it herself did not trouble her conscience at all. The band fell silent. Lord Pendlebury was helped up to the platform in front of the band. The winner of the great quiche competition is... quavered Lord Penderley. He fumbled with a sheaf of notes, picked them up, tidied them, took out a pair of pince-nez, looked again helplessly at the papers until Mr. Cummings Brown pointed to the right sheet of paper. Bless me, yes, winnered Lord Penderley. Hurf! The winner is Mr. Cartwright. Snakes and bastards, muttered Agatha. Fuming, she watched as Mrs. Cartwright, a slur for robot-y traveler-looking woman, climbed up onto the stage to receive the award. It was a check. How much? Agatha asked the woman next to her. £10.
Yes.
£10! Exclaimed Agatha, who had not even asked before what the prize was to be, but naively assumed it would be in the form of a silver cup. She had imagined such a cup with her name engraved on it, resting on her mantelpiece. How's she supposed to celebrate by spending that? Dinner at McDonald's? It's the thought that counts, said the woman vaguely. You are Miss Raisin. You have just bought Budgeon's cottage. I am Miss Bloxby, the vicar's wife. Can we hope to see you at church on Sunday? Why Budgeon? Asked Agatha. I bought the cottage from a Mr. Alder. It has always been Budgeon's cottage, said the vicar's wife. He died 15 years ago, of course, but to us in the village it will always be Budgeon's cottage. He was a great character. At least you do not have to worry about your dinner tonight, Mrs. Raisin. Your quiche looks delicious. Oh, throw it away, snarled Agatha. Mine was the best. This competition was rigged. Mrs. Bloxby gave Agatha a look of sad reproach before moving away. Agatha experienced a qualm of unease. She should not have been bitchy about the competition to the vicar's wife. Mrs. Bloxby seemed a nice sort of woman, but Agatha had only been used to 3 lines of conversation, either ordering her staff about, pressuring the media for publicity, or being oily to clients. A faint idea was stirring somewhere in her brain that Agatha Raisin was not a very lovable person.
That 3 lines of conversation line is extraordinarily painful for me to hear.
Yeah. Also, I think this kind of gets at what we were talking about earlier, where the self-loathing really does start to make her a more relatable character.
I'm fine, thanks.
I mean, I'm only speaking for myself.
Everything's great. I don't need to hear only sad and self-lacerating things in my life. Boy, wait for my recommendation, kids.
Oh, are you going to recommend something uplifting and fun as usual?
As per the usual. Or is it a record that has a line, Jesus Christ, I'm still so blue? And then the second time it comes around, it's Jesus Christ, I'm so sad all the time.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's do another game here. Let's do What Would They Do?
Sometimes intentions are hard to divine, and others the clear as day. So tell me, what would they do?
All right, so What Would They Do? We're going to call this Author's Edition, because usually What Would They Do, we put ourselves in the shoes of characters in the book. This time around, we're both going to become MC Beaton, wicka, 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 wicka. And we're going to brainstorm some good names, because this book is filled with good village names.
Yeah.
But they're all very, very English. So we're going to brainstorm some good names for American versions of quaint little British villages. If they were to exist in, say, California or Idaho or someplace like that.
Yes. That America we know and love, running from California to Idaho.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it, right? There's California, there's Florida, there's New York, and then there's all the other shit.
Ouch.
No, I'm just kidding. I've lived in a bunch of the other shit. It's fine. I'll get us started here. I have a couple pre-written examples, but I think first off, let's start with the neighborhood I live in now. If it were a provincial English village, I think it would be called Bus Stop upon Dumpster Lid.
Yeah, whereas my neighborhood would be more like Bus Stop as Shelters Be.
That's a good one.
Although I was riding back from the coffee shop just this morning and saw one of those big racks of public bikes and was like, oh no, my neighborhood is officially wrecked.
Yep. How about formerly green?
Oh, I like it. Is that for here or just for all of America?
Anywhere
because we're
in America
on fire?
at this point. Yeah. I think that also kind of fits in with another one that I created, which was Housing Crisis Bury.
Oh. Big ups to Moms for Housing. But yes, a major problem for us. So I kind of came at it from a little bit of a different perspective, because you were thinking about America as it truly is. But I understand America as what it projects itself to be.
Oh.
And that, of course, is the home and native land of one Theodore Nugent. So my mysteries would be set in places like Wang Danglesby on Tang.
Ooh, that's a good one.
If you don't want to hear something along those lines, skip ahead 10 seconds. I was thinking about Nuts Upon Chinsleby. Is that too much?
No, it's good. Keep going.
And then, but it's not all just sexy times in Ted Nugent's world. Sometimes he likes to make a record album, at which point what results is mostly Grunsel in Bowling.
Oh, good. I was a big fan of Guns on the Residence.
Ooh.
I like that a lot. And also Not But Parking Lots.
Ooh, I see somebody took a trip to the suburbs this weekend.
Yeah. And then I have one more that's worthwhile, which is Eatery upon Strip Mall. But that's about it. Yeah.
That's very, very good. Yeah. There's got to be something about, piles of glass on Streetington.
Ooh, that's good. I think it's also important that we have at least one that has like all of those extra syllables that you don't actually pronounce.
Oh, yes.
Before Shire.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's like 75 letters, but it's called Ingle.
Yeah. How about Constant Dumpster Fire, but it's like spelled like Dubchester? Dubchestershire?
Dubchestershire.
Yeah. I already made one dumpster joke, though. We can't keep doing that.
I mean, it's what we have here.
Yeah.
Okay, there's got to be something about wuthering.
Let's see. Probably should involve goods or television or...
Well, let's go back to your neighborhood. It would be something like Wuthering Stock Option Heights.
Ooh. How about Wuthering Opioids?
Ooh. Oh, yes. Nothing like using one of our major national crises as a punchline.
I already did Guns on the Residents, man.
Yeah, I know. That's true. How about Mismanaged Forestry Bee?
There we go. You know what? This is a lot more depressing than funny. Let's move on to a different game.
What is your fave? What is your fave? When you're presented with a list of options, what is your fave?
All right, so I was going to ask what is your fave title of an MC Beaton novel, because they start relatively, these are all Agatha Raisin books. They start relatively interesting, and then they start to go off the rails. However, the way I saw them listed was up until a certain point, it was just the name of the story.
Okay.
And then around the time Harry Potter came out, they started becoming Agatha Raisin and the blankety blank. However, your book looks like an original pressing, an original copy.
Nerd!
So I'm starting to think that this just may be faulty internet information. But either way, I'm going to read them as I have them written here.
Okay, and I'm going to pick my favorite. And then after that, you're going to tell me what your favorite is.
I am.
And then we're going to line those two up, take them out of their beaten balls, and make them fight.
Yep. Mine's a Dynamax, so it will definitely win. Okay.
Good old Magikarp. Never went wrong pulling out Magikarp.
Pre-Harry Potter.
Okay.
We had The Quiche of Death.
Yep.
A Spoonful of Poison. Kissing Christmas. Goodbye, Love, Lies, and Liquor.
Whoa.
Which also sounds like a Reverend Horton Heat song. The Perfect Paragon. And The Deadly Dance. Now, post-Harry Potter, we have Agatha Raisin and the Haunted House. Agatha Raisin and the Case of the Curious Curate. Agatha Raisin and the Day the Floods Came. Agatha Raisin and the Love from Hell. Agatha Raisin and the Fairies of oh, God. I don't know how to say this. Agatha Raisin and the Fairies of Friffum, I'm going to say. Agatha Raisin and the Witch of Wickhead. Agatha Raisin and the Wizard of Evesham.
What the fuck?
Agatha Raisin and the Wellspring of Death.
What?
Agatha Raisin and the Terrible Tourist. And Agatha Raisin and the Murderous Marriage.
Wow. I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm just going to say that what I want is the trilogy of the magic books. Like, we're going fairies, witch, and wizard.
They all came out in a row.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the run I want.
And they're all from small villages that actually exist. I looked them up. Because Friffum is spelled like Fry-Fam. And I'm like, there's no way it can be called Fry-Fam.
I really want her to just, like, get in the car and drive to Wales, you know?
Oh, yeah. There's no way I would try to read those on here. I mean, Much respect to the Welsh out there, but your language is very hard to read for people like me.
It is. Way to go, trying to shoehorn in a phoneme system into a Roman alphabet that was not designed for it, my friends. You worked real hard at it.
Yeah, I can't do it. I mess it up every time. Okay, so for me, my favorite is definitely Agatha Raisin and the Day the Floods Came, because, like many of my choices, that sounds like it could be a great album title.
Oh, that is pretty good. Although, I mean, are you just kind of biting your favorite They Might Be Giants record?
Oh, that's true. It's a brand new record for 1990. Agatha Raisin and the Day the Floods Came. It is Why the World's in Love Again, though. So.
Although I do want to read that the back of my copy from the library includes 3 titles from her Hamish Macbeth series.
Oh, yeah.
And they also seem to have a theme. Death of a Snob, Death of a Hussy, Death of a Perfect Wife.
Uh-huh.
So, say this about MC Beaton, or I guess I say this about Marion Chesney.
No, Hamish Macbeth was also written as MC Beaton.
Okay, well, but say this about Marion Chesney, the actual person, because I'm going to assume the other 18 pen names also share this. Woman knew her way around a catchy title.
Hamish Macbeth, it's worth mentioning, if you haven't read any of those, is I believe, originally a detective from Glasgow who is sent out into the middle of nowhere in Scotland and then purposefully refuses to solve cases so he doesn't get sent back. Like, he'll determine who the killer is and stuff, but then just not tell the other cops. And he's also incredibly lazy and hates everything. So
That's amazing.
Highly recommended,
right.
I would say.
Wow. Speaking of not getting sent back, I want to do a thought experiment. It's not really part of a game, but it's a thought experiment.
Okay.
You are the vicar's wife, Mrs. Bloxby. You are the most serene and noble human who has ever lived. You have welcomed every prickly transplant into your village for decades now. But now there's a new prickly transplant and you don't like them. How would you help them understand that it's time for them to leave?
Ooh, that's rough. That's rough because I can't imagine Mrs. Bloxby not liking anyone.
I know. Or at least tolerating them and trying to bring them into the fold.
Huh. Why don't you go first? I got to think.
Well, I think that there's only 2 real options on the table. One, obviously poison quiche or poison tea. And then the other is probably you have to slowly show them your ways, show them the nature of the town, show them everything that the town stands for and everything that's important to the town, and then finally slit their throat onto the altar to appease the great god.
See, I was just thinking of a Midsummer Murders thing too, which I was thinking it has to be divide intervention, basically. You'd have to be like, look, God has told me he doesn't want you here.
Right.
Which is pretty close to what you're getting at.
Perhaps you have a mission elsewhere, my dear.
Exactly.
I've taken the liberty of packing your bag
Yeah.
and putting it in the trunk of your car,
Enjoy
which is
your
running
fish and
outside.
chips. Fuck out of here.
Yeah. What is you watch all these, you read all these. What is the cozy mystery version of FOH?
Ta? Just ta by itself.
So good to see you again.
Yeah. Ta.
Ta.
All right, we'll be back. I think it's time for a break.
It's time for a well,
Folks at home?
ta.
We are back. No more quiche eating for these dudes. We're here to talk about other things, starting with things we enjoyed. Although I will say, I know you said you couldn't recommend this because of some of the general racism, and I do agree. It's,
some of these specific racism.
yeah, it's soft-pedaled for sure, but it's there. I will say, as somebody who's read a lot of Agatha Christie, I've become very good at overlooking that stuff.
Right.
So if you are, maybe give this a shot from your local library. Don't pay money for it.
Oh, I mean, you could do worse. And I was thinking about this as I was reading it. One thing I often say is, the problem is with your recommendation, we mostly specialize in bad books. It's not clear that this technically is a bad book.
It's not. It has some bad elements, but it's generally cromulent.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so possible qualified recommendation for this, but I know you've got more.
I do. And a song.
Not only venom and spite, sometimes with sweetness and light, and we always end the episode by telling you about a thing we like. Recommendations.
All right, so I'm going to totally cheat. And my recommendation is that you go on your Acorn or your BritBox or wherever you get your British TV and you watch the I almost said it again. The Agatha Raisin series based on these books. The character of Agatha is much more likable. She's also, surprise, younger and more attractive. But a lot of the uncomfortable racial and sexuality dynamics are gone. The mysteries remain the same. So if you've read all the books of the series, you're not going to get a lot from the show. However, the characters are a lot more likable. Just generally, they're good British mystery shows to check out. So I would give them a shot if you like that kind of thing. Like if you're a Midsummer Murders fan like me or something like that, you will get a kick out of it. So yeah.
Excellent. I'm going to be extremely on brand and recommend two separate things. One is a record. Again,
a record?
A record. It is by Phoebe Bridgers, who I just Googled to make sure that I was going to get the name right and have found out was born after I graduated high school, so I need to lie down and possibly die. And I'm going to recommend her album, which is actually quite old now, which I did not realize. It is called Stranger in the Alps. And it is kind of a indie, countryish, sad person record with many good lyrics about being sad and some about being unhappy as well, just for a change of pace. But the fact that it is titled after a fairly deep-cut Big Lebowski reference should give you a hint that there's other things going on here. You may have heard of her because she was in Boy Genius, which was a kind of minor supergroup that put out one record about a year and a half ago. That record did not really land for me, but this record really, really has. So Stranger in the Alps by Phoebe Bridgers. The other thing I'm going to recommend is...
what you get, Jerry.
Yeah. You see what happens?
Yeah.
Do you see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps? The other thing I'm going to recommend is a book of poems by Catherine Barnett. It's called Human Hours, particularly the poem Epistemology, which fucked my shit right up when I read it, as well as a number of others in it. You can probably get it from your library if you, like me, are slightly resentful of the fact that poetry has probably the worst page/word per dollar you have to spend to acquire it ratio in the world. I got it from the library. I liked it a lot. It's a little bit like the Phoebe Bridgers record. It's a little bit like this MC Beaton book in that all three are primarily concerned with portraying people who are not the nicest people and aren't particularly flinchy about it. So those are my recommendations.
On a more general note, I just wanted to recommend that everybody out there who likes music and likes vinyl records, go out and support truly independent vinyl releases. It's a crucial time right now. Rainbow Records pressing just closed in LA. Most of this is because Warner Brothers has a drop ship company now called Direct Shot that almost every major label is using. Record Store Day has a lot to do with it because they backed up independent pressing plants. And the era of independent vinyl is dying. So if you like music and you like independent bands that put out records, go out there and buy it and make sure it was not produced at Direct Shot. That's it. Help save an industry, please, because I love records.
Right.
And I know a lot of you do too. And I don't know if you realize how dire things are right now, but we're literally down to one large-scale pressing plant in the United States of America right now.
You want to know where tapes came from or why tapes came back? It's because small bands couldn't get their 7 inches printed anymore, so they had to go to tapes.
Raybo was operating with over a year backlog because of major label releases for Record Store Day. Right. That is fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of bands, if you've ever been in a band, you know that making it to a year is kind of a heavy lift. Side note, speaking of records, go buy our friend's record. Go buy the new Wolf Parade record. Why not?
It's good.
Do it. The other thing is, if you really want to support musicians, buying records is an okay way to do it, especially if you're doing it at your local record store. Streaming them is less than worthless. Maybe just go to the shows and buy some shit straight from them. It's not a great system. It's not even a good system, but it's the system we have right now.
Plus, you could get drunk in a socially acceptable format in a room with other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, seriously, the merch booth, that's where you're really supporting your local artists. Yeah. So,
and some of their loser buddies who they've dragged out on tour with them.
That's true.
And I only say that because I've
been that guy.
Exactly. And
Me too.
Boy, I kind of wish I could carve out some space in my life to be that guy again someday. That will never happen. Why? Because I'm an adult and I don't like spending time on vans.
If you like a band that's playing at a venue of about 100 people or less, odds are they're getting less than $100 to play that show. And you need to buy those T-shirts so they can put gas in their van and food
leave.
in their stomachs.
Yeah.
So, make it happen.
Anywho.
I used to sell drink tickets. Shit got that dire. All right. So anyway, let's move on to sometimes we get correspondence. And sometimes we read it.
A, letters B, letters C, letters D, letters E, letters F, letters G, letters, got a lot of letters.
So this one is ripped from the headlines. It is from Jessica, fake last name. Oh. I wonder if it's Jessica Murder, She Wrote.
Ooh, who could it be?
And it is entitled Oh Suki. In the most recent episode, when Jay started singing Oh Suki, I thought he was referring to the fan song Snoop Dogg wrote about True Blood. So, record scratch noise?
Whoa, I knew he loved Ric Flair. I had no idea about True Blood.
Please watch this and then know it was played on HBO after the season 2 premiere. It remains one of my favorite things I've seen on HBO to this day. I would love it if you would read one of the Suki books. The first one is so poorly edited, it features a sex scene in which Suki takes off her underwear 2 separate times. I find the...
Maybe she's just wearing 2 pairs of underwear.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's an obvious dodge. I know I do.
Yeah. Maybe she's lost a lot of weight recently, like things don't fit unless she doubles up. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I know I've had a pair of shoes that were too big. I had to wear 2 pairs of socks to make them work.
Okay, quick side note. You know that most women's underwear is not your thick knit sock. You know what? Never mind. Well, moving on.
We date different kind of women, Mr. Collision.
I find the capital V vampire, capital B bureaucracy described in the later books truly delightful. That gives me flashbacks to the later works of the Underworld franchise, all of which I have seen for one reason or another.
I know what that one reason is, but we'll stop right there.
Up.
Might it involve Kate Beckinsale in leather pants?
You just got me in fairly substantial trouble.
I'll edit it out. Sorry.
No, leave it in. Thanks so much for the show, guys. My favorite song is the Letters song.
Yeah.
Especially because it is finally replaced in my head the song one of my brothers used to sing while checking the mail that went, I got a letter, you didn't get one, because no one likes you.
That's like that. Was it Eddie Murphy? I got some ice cream. Yeah. And you ain't got none. Well, I'm glad I could replace that negative memory with something positive. It's hilarious to me that I think the letter song is probably the most popular of all of our jingles, when it required absolutely the least effort from me, which was just put a drum beat and have a synth that keeps going up and then just say the alphabet.
Got a lot of letters. But, I mean, if you guys haven't heard the 12-inch dance mix
You
re-edit,
probably never will, because it was queued up at Rainbow and they're gone now.
it was fucking incredible, though. I mean, you would not believe how banging it is when you give every letter a full minute.
Yeah, and I mean, I got to tell you, like...
That's more than 25 minutes.
Armand Tobin did an incredible job, but sorry, folks.
But yeah, you're not going to hear it. Okay, and this is more of a blast from the past. And this is from Sam, fake last name. And it is entitled, I actually enjoyed that hockey romance novel.
Oh, dear.
Hello, I found the pod last year after hearing Jay on Sunday School Dropouts. Late to the party, I know. Don't judge me. Hey, you know what? Every show could be somebody's first show. That's an important thing to remember. And we don't judge. There's just that much more for you to love. This has become a sort of comfort podcast for you. For me, I have a very long commute to work, and I listen to podcasts while I knit, so I go through a lot of podcasts. And if I need something familiar to listen to that I know what I enjoy, I know I can listen to an episode of IDEO TV.
Oh, thank you.
In surfing the backlog, I found the older episode about Forever Pucked, the hockey romance novel. After listening to that episode, I borrowed Pucked, the first book in that series, and enjoyed it enough to continue reading the rest of the series.
Wait, no. So Sam heard the blowjob bagel sequence, and then went out and actually read the rest of the book.
I don't actually remember the blowjob bagel sequence.
You are lucky.
I remember the sex on the dryer sequence pretty clearly.
I mean, that part was relatively hot, but there was also there was also a blowjob that involved cream cheese. That's all I'm saying.
For reference, I am a 26-year-old woman who has also read multiple books in a modern cowboy erotica series. It's the Rough Riders series by Lorelei James, if you're curious. I read that not because I'm curious, although I am curious. I read that because I knew if I left it out, we would get more mail than I'm personally comfortable trying to answer.
I'm just curious when they're finally going to stop, drop, shut them down, and open up shop.
Well, that's how Rough Riders roll.
Okay.
Thank you for the podcast. I look forward to the new episodes to help with my long daily drives and keep me company while I am crafting. Thank you so much. We hope you can help. We hope we can help with that as well. And we encourage you never to do all three of those things at the same time.
What was that band, Driving and Crying?
Yeah, exactly.
How about Driving and Cross-Stitching?
Ooh, I don't mind that. She also signed it Go Avs, which, pro tip, if you want to get your letter read on the air, that's pretty much catnip.
Yeah. That'll work.
Yeah, that will work until I suspect you of pandering, at which point it will still work, but I will personally feel crummy about it. If you would like to write us a letter, please do so. They brighten our day, even when we don't get a chance to read them on air. You can do it at idon'tevenowntelevision@gmail.com. If you like the show and you'd like to help us out, you can support us on Patreon and get an extra episode every month. That's patreon.com/IDEOTV pod. And
no pod.
Oh, no pod. My bad. Again, if you support us at the $5 a month level, you get extra episodes every single month. Also, other little extras. Jay will sometimes drop songs there. I will sometimes read extra things that just make me laugh. I may read fairly soon the scene in this where Agatha Raisin gets all saucy and tries to seduce her next door neighbor.
Nothing like a horny raisin.
Nothing like a lady who used to take her fashion cues from Margaret Thatcher, going to the village and trying to convince a retired military historian to take up a new hobby.
Her shoulder pads fell to the floor with a resounding thud.
So that's a great thing you can do. But the best thing you can do is tell a friend and just hold them down and threaten to poison their quiche until they listen to the show.
Yeah, or just give them some tea that'll knock them out, and then play this while they're unconscious, and they'll absorb it through osmosis.
That's great. Honestly, just go to their podcast app and subscribe them to the show. We don't care if they listen. As long as they're downloading, our sponsors are happy. And when our sponsors are happy, who's happy? We're happy. And when we're happy, who's happy? You're happy.
And also, AmericanSlideWhistle.net. Oh, I ran out of breath there on the way back up. Here we go.
We both went a little sick. Yes.
There we go.
There you go.
That's the one I'm going to use. I want to make sure AmericanSlideWhistle.net knows I'm only representing them with the best slide whistle performance possible because they make the best slide whistle on the market. So check them out. They help keep this show afloat.
Exactly.
For real. Literally, sincerely, an actual sponsor.
If you want to blow hard. Blow American slide whistles. Only available at AmericanSlideWhistle.net.
Also, if you're very bad at wolf whistling like me, then you can be obnoxious to women like this.
Nope.
Oh, yeah, that's actually probably a really bad idea. All right, so yeah, we're on Facebook, Twitter, blah, 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 blah. And we would like to
but it's a lot more fun than that.
We would like to thank you so much for tuning in to listen to us talk about quiche and mysteries.
You know, the real mystery is, how does quiche get so fluffy yet so filling?
I think it has something to do with eggs. Eggs are the secret ingredient of everything.
Science.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for writing books, MC Beaton, I guess. I don't know.
Rest in power, by the way. You know, we've had some fun, but I think it's important to acknowledge that MC Beaton was a pretty large figure in the world of the cozy mystery and made substantial contributions to the genre. And without her, the cozy mystery shelves would be much more empty. So we do appreciate her work, and just wanted to say one more time, you know, that she will be missed by many, many fans. So yeah. Wanted to close on that note so that we're not just making fun of her.
Yeah, no. We were never making fun of her. We were merely having a little fun around the topic of one of her many, many works. And as someone who personally has achieved essentially nothing, obviously I have little standing. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, don't put crab in your quiche. They don't like that.
Yeah, crab quiche sounds kind of nasty.
Just give your crab some quiche.
Stick with the veggies. All right, we'll see you next time.